psychiatrists either use DSM-5, which is the American classification, or they use ICD-10, which is the European Health Organization classification. And you probably already know about it. Children need to have attention problems, impulse control problems, and sometimes, quite a lot of the time, children are hyperactive. But not all the children are hyperactive. Some children are more in the inattentive side. But with all these problems, there are a lot of problems that are not covered by the diagnosis. I think Val was mentioning comorbidity. And one of the problems that children have, this is when they are adults, they were asked what they thought were the most impairing things of growing with ADHD. And the social problems figured quite highly. So this group here is the adults with ADHD, and the other group is non-adults without ADHD. So one of the main problems was problems with the parents. So most people thought that they got quite a lot of problems with their parents. Surprise! But also there were problems with the school friends. I mean, it's all significant, it's all significantly different. But problems with the school friends, problems at the school with friends, and problems with siblings were quite a lot impairing. One of the issues with ADHD is that it's often associated with other conditions, what we call autistic spectrum disorder. So this is not ADHD, it's another condition, but sometimes they go together. Anxiety disorders, particularly sometimes social anxiety, because we are talking about social relationship problems. You need to think you will need to think which one is ADHD, which one is maybe to do with other problems, because the way of tackling things is different. Oppositional defiant disorder, that's what it means. Basically, yeah. And some children do suffer from depression, and they are more irritable, and that's why they don't want to communicate with other children. So, obviously some children do have some learning problems, and you were mentioning sensory problems. So sometimes it all occurs together. Sometimes children have ADHD and a little bit of the other disorders, not completely fulfilling the diagnostic criteria. Sometimes they have the whole thing. But it does make life more complicated.
I think it's difficult as well if the services are not looking at all of those things when you go in. So they're just looking at ADHD, and then it's like, all right, off you go then. Yeah. That's what they do to us.
And the other thing that happens is sometimes some of the problems become more apparent. So to be fair to the services, sometimes you start with ADHD, and the ADHD is very apparent. I mean, the child is running all over the place, has not paying attention. So you think, okay, usually he has ADHD. And then when the ADHD is better controlled, then people start to think that actually underlying this there are other problems. So for example, if you were going to do an IQ test of a child with severe ADHD, well, you might as well possibly not bother because they are not going to pay attention. Now when the child is calmer, or because then you can do the IQ test and find out that they actually may on the top of it. Yes. Children with ADHD also have problems that are not a diagnosis, but I mean, teenagers with ADHD that have realized that they have problems. They may have problems with low self-esteem. I mean, small children seem to be a little bit blissfully unaware that they have problems, so they go around bouncing along. But when they get to teenagers, they do have problems with self-esteem. They are not very good at reflecting on their own actions and the impact of their actions in the others. Children in general don't do that. They don't reflect on what they are doing very much. But children with ADHD they find this even more difficult. They have poor concept of time. So they arrive late to places, poor self-regulation of emotions. So they blow up. They get very emotional about things. They get very intense. And poor planning and organization skills. This is what's called executive functioning skills. This tends to go together or be part of ADHD, although some children may have more than one thing or not so much of the other. So there are some children with ADHD who have very good social skills. The majority do have some difficulties. Some children with ADHD may be good at regulating the self. The majority do have some difficulties. So all in all means that when they are with other children, they do have problems. And that's what we were talking about today. So you become aware that your child is having problems with social skills. Well, what is the first thing that one needs to do? Is to observe the problem and think, why is this child having problems? Because there are different things. Okay? So the first thing is you go and think and observe. You also talk to your child, and don't talk to your child when you are angry or when you are upset, because it doesn't go down well. And they are already upset themselves, so it might as well, yeah. But you can say to the child, well, I noticed, or they may say to you, I don't have many friends, no one wants to play with me, or people pick on me. And now is a good time to talk about it. Is the child concerned about it, and how concerned? And do they think that they ought to change something or not? Now, most children under the age of 12 or 11, they will say it's the others that need to change. Some children continue like this for the rest of their lives. But one response to that is, well, you can only change your behavior. You can then hope that the other people's behavior is going to change when you change. But you cannot make other people change. So let's just talk a little bit what is going on for you. And then try to talk with the child about the situations when he finds the social relationships difficult. Yeah? So is it in the playground? Is it in and what is happening in the playground? If the child says, I don't have any friends, and you say, why do you think this is? Normally this starts the conversation, because if the child knew why, they wouldn't be asking. So ask more about, well, what makes you say that? What happened? Because it may be something that just happened today, and that's not a permanent problem. But it may be that something that's happening continuously. So ask the child to describe the situation. What makes them think that they don't have many friends? People pick on me. Okay, tell me what happened. But exactly, because it may be that people are saying something that is nasty, but in response to something that the child has done before. And your child has completely forgotten that day before kicked the other child, and the other child, But so you need to try to build the full picture, and you need to observe your child in social situations. So if it's a small child or younger child, and you go to a playground or something, see how they react with others, because there are various types of problems. Well, there are children that have trouble making friends. Now, this may be a direct consequence of ADHD. Or more or less a direct consequence of ADHD. So usually what has happened is that the other children have seen that this child is a bit naughty and interrupts and flares up. And therefore, it's not the child that they would prefer to go and play with. So they, because of the lack of impulse control of the ADHD child, because of the way that they respond to people, there is a problem. But it could be that the child with ADHD has other problems, like they have a little bit or a whole lot of ASD, autistic spectrum disorder. So they do not know how to interact with people. when they go and talk to people, they start to talk about their own particular interests. And I know of a child in the clinic that his particular interests are tall buildings. Now, there are not many children in the playground that are interested in tall buildings. So if he goes and talks about tall buildings, he's not going to have many friends. There are children that have social anxiety. So they either because of the way that they are or because of previous experiences, they have become very anxious about talking to people. They expect people to judge them, they expect people to be horrible to them, and therefore they do not approach people because they are expecting a bad response, and they get anxious and they get tense with the thought of getting to a group of children. And all of this may happen together. But it's good to observe your child because you start to think what is happening, and then you may start to work out a way of progressing. There are children that are not able to make friends quite easily, but they lose them as easily as they gain them. And this may also be a consequence of ADHD. So they are very engaging, they are very animated. People, other boys particularly, like being with them because they are a lot of fun to be with. But what happens is that they get into arguments, they answer badly, they fight people, and often, if they do this very often, then their friends stop being their friends. And they also may have a little bit of trouble choosing who are going to be their friends. Because children with ADHD have the tendency of liking children with ADHD. And they're all a lot of fun together. They're all very volatile. And I think Val was telling me that they had a group of children with 11 children with ADHD, and they are still alive. Well, that's no.
It's a long evening.
It was a long evening. Yes, I remember running a group with the children with ADHD once, and it occurred to the people that put the group together were not very senior, let's just say. So they put various children together with ADHD, and the only thing that we could hear in the corridor was people running up and down, mayhem, total mayhem. So it's a lot of fun for about half an hour. After that, things stop being fun, and they lose each other as friends because they fight. So that's one of the things that may happen. And also emotional issues. So some children may not be very good at keeping friends because of things that have happened in the past. They may be upset, they may be expecting that people are going to be horrible to them. So they may approach, okay, for a little while, but they may then leave. And also children that have traits of ASD. If they only have traits, at the beginning it's okay. But after a while, these children, people notice, not in these words, that these children don't follow the conversation, they are always in their own topic. They get a little bit bored, their eye contact is not very good, they may say things, not because of impulse, but they may say things that is not quite right, they don't go down well, so they just lose their friends because of that. So children with ADHD interrupt conversations. So they will they will say what they will mean. They talk without thinking. They say the wrong thing at the wrong time. So that is a problem. Children with ASD tend to talk about their own topics. So they talk about trains or tall buildings or spiders or whatever it is, their own topic. So it does tend to be a problem.
Can I just ask a question? Because actually that's quite interesting, because that's also described as an ASD trait.
Yeah.
But it is an ADHD trait, isn't it?
Yeah, interrupting conversations.
But,
Yes.
and talking on your own tag, talking about, or
It's sometimes difficult to know but I would say talking in your own tag would be more an ASD type of trait. An ADHD trait is interrupting because it's the first thing that comes into your mind.
Yeah.
Now, the minds of children with ADHD are very imaginative and active, so while you are here, they may be thinking 3 steps ahead of you and thinking about something completely different. That is what is interesting to them. Not that they are always in the same topic. There are 100 different topics, but that's the problem. Yeah. So, but it's at that particular time they are interested that there is a tree there, and that reminds them that trees grow in autumn, and they so actually, and that
And there's a squirrel.
yeah, exactly, something like that. So they will start talking about that. Yeah. Now it's overreacting to situations. So children with ADHD are very emotionally reactive and have difficulty in controlling their own feelings. So they not only get a bit upset, they get from 0 to 100 in about a millisecond. So this is actually a trait in other neuropsychiatric problems, but it's particularly for ADHD. Not being reliable. Now that annoys people like me who are a little bit obsessional. So if someone tells me that they are going to come at 12 o'clock and by 12 they are not here, I start to think, well, why not here? And obviously the people with ADHD, they think that they can do this and that and the other, and they are going to do it in about 20 minutes, when if they told you, you know that it's going to take them 2 hours. So they do have poor concept of time tracking. That happens to a lot of people, but most of us learn by experience that certain things take double the time that we thought at the beginning. So you reflect and you think, oh, last time this happened, I thought it was going to take me 1 hour, it took me 2.5. So, I mean, then you learn that it's taken up. But children with ADHD do have this difficulty of learning from experience, because partly they don't reflect so much on what they are doing. And therefore they arrive late to places. They say that they are going to do something and they don't do it. And therefore other people get fed up with them. And that's one of the problems. So that's poor rabbit, okay, being late, which happens. Okay. There are here some websites for social skills training, and I mean there's only 2 of them. It's mainly for children with ASD, but it may be helpful. I mean, there are lots of books for people with ASD. But so what can be done about it? That's important, isn't it? Or what can the parents do about it? Right. Helping children to develop friendships. Okay. The first thing is, obviously, the child needs to realize that there is a little bit of a problem with that, because otherwise. So then you ask the child to describe the situation. You always, you have already observed. So you then try to ask the child to reflect how they did act in that situation and how could be different. And one of the techniques to help children to do this is by role-playing. And role-playing in different ways. So, okay, so you invite so-and-so to play in the playground, and so you start playing, and how do you invite the child? And you say, I want to play this, let's go and play this. And the child says, no. So how did you do that? So, okay, so let's just see how you will feel if I say, let's go and play this, and you don't feel like it. So how will it be a better way to do it? Would you say, would you like to play this, rather than let's go and play this? Yeah. So you role play. Would you like to play this? And then they say yes or no. What do you do if they say yes? You go and play. What do you do? I just say no. Well, I mean, you could say, what would you like to play? And reach an agreement. So, but these things need to be role played with the children. Or children need to be coached to do these sort of things. Because it doesn't occur to them easily. It doesn't come naturally. Yeah. Think about the situations in advance. You are inviting a child to play. Now you know that from last time that the child came,
everyone got angry at the end, and by the end you wanted to throw yourself under the bridge. So what happened? Well, because they started to play nicely, or my son wanted to play something, the other one wanted to play something else, and they ended up playing separately. So you need to role play. What's going to happen? So and so is going to come, and what are we going to do? Just prepare a little bit. Do you know that so and so likes to play football? So if we are going to go to the park, where are we going to go, etc. And think how long are you going to have the two children there? Make your life easy, particularly at the beginning. I think 1 hour and a half is probably the maximum that one can tolerate. Two children with, or one child with ADHD, the other possibly around that. So you invite play dates for children to practice skills, prepare the layout, think with your child what's going to happen, what is the first thing that they are going to say to the child, start with that, oh welcome, and what would you like to play, and also so-and-so is going to come to with his mom, what are you going to say to the mom, at least say hello to the mother. You need to practice these social skills because your child is going to go to the thing that he's thinking about. So practice all these steps. When you do this, do it in a day that you are calm. Watch your own voice when you talk to your children. Because it is very easy to criticize and for the child to feel criticized. So, you just say, okay, now, so-and-so is coming to play. What are you going to do when he arrives? I mean, the child is going to already feel a little bit. But while you are doing it, while you are having tea and say, oh, so-and-so is coming to play, so let's just think a little bit what we are going to do. Okay. And what happened last time he came? Or you argue because you wanted to play something. So if this happens again, how are we going to sort it? So we are not going to get angry. Watch your tone of voice. Watch that you are calm. Because it is difficult to get calm with children with ADHD. They have something that makes all of us
especially when we've
exciting.
got it as well.
Yeah.
When the parents have it, I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah. So you know yourself, and do it when you have time and you are not tired and these sort of things. So when you are inviting someone, or review the goals, at least in your mind. So if the goal is, I want the child to learn to share toys, think in your mind, that is my objective. So, okay, last time that so-and-so came, there was a little bit problem with sharing. So how are we going to do it different this time? And sort of get the child to agree that this is an objective, more or less. And then when they achieve a little bit of it, reinforce a lot. Oh, when so-and-so came, you were very good at sharing your pens. That was excellent, good, well done. Fortunately, later on, and maybe you were tired and things didn't go so well, but at the beginning it was very good. Video the child, that's suggested sometimes, but you obviously need to think with them whether you want to do that. When he's talking to others, you could video yourself when you are talking to your child. It's a bit scary, actually, and that's why I don't like being videoed, because then I look myself in the video and I think, oh my goodness, this is awful.
It's true.
But you could video yourself talking to your child, because then you realize that you are actually tense, and that maybe you start okay, but then you get tense and think. It's very easy to criticize yourself. Think actually, what was happening there? Why did I get tense? Because the child was not responding the way I thought I was going to respond. So how could this be next time? But with the child's permission, as you think, well, you know what? It would be a good exercise to, maybe fun to video you when you are talking to your friends. So we can learn how to talk more politely, or how, where things are not good, how you discuss things with your friends. So we can learn together, we can then look at it together, and we can learn how to do it better.
There are also actually some really good clips online where you can go through even a television program where you could record it and look at the social interaction and then go back and think, how could they have done that differently? So, sorry.
That's very good. Yeah. The other thing is actually if tell children, there's sometimes you're a little bit bad at keeping time. So, or if you have said that you are going to do something, you really need to do it, because think how would you feel if someone told you that they were going to do something and they don't do it. So make them reflect. Okay, there is a list of do's and don'ts that you may want to keep and go over your child, or do your own list of do's and don'ts. So, so you want to have more friends. So let's just think about things that you could do. I mean, this is a list that someone gave me. One of the things that you, because children with ADHD are very good at joining groups that maybe are not so helpful to join. It is the ones that people tend to go into trouble. So, for example, they join other children that are as active as them. So, well, shall we think about the group that you want to join? I mean, that group of friends, the cool kids in the class. I mean, what sort of things are they good at? Are these a good group of children to join? So, when you go to join a group, how are you going to do it? I mean, you look at the people, you try to join in with what they are doing. Don't tell them to change their game as soon as you arrive. Have a good eye contact, talk to people about what they are talking about, and ask questions about what they are talking about, rather than what you are thinking. So listen to them, and that's very difficult for children with ADHD. But at least if you sort of go through it with them, they have an idea of what are they supposed to do. Okay, don't just criticize others. Don't tell them that you are silly. Or this sort of thing, you are silly or something like this. Don't say that you are very good at doing everything, because it's going to go down, not go down. If they are playing something, don't go and interrupt them and take their ball or whatever it is. Yes. And sometimes for children with ASD particularly, they tend to stand too close or too far away. So you may need to see what they are doing. I mean, some of this may apply to your child, some of it may not. But you could sort of choose a few of these and say, okay, let's just think about this. Okay, so helping your child to solve problems without getting into fights, which children with ADHD tend to do quite a lot. Now, one of the first problems that they have is that they have problems with negotiating. The other problem that they have is that they have problems with emotional recognition and recognizing their own emotions. So, let's just think about problems with negotiating. They may tell you, I've got into a fight, or I sort of something. So listen to your child without criticizing. What happened? How did it happen? What were you doing at the time? Listen to the whole story. And listen how they were feeling about that. Because what sometimes happens is that someone tells you something and you may think about yourself, but it's not what they tell you, but it's how you feel about it. So, for example, a teacher may say to a child, please sit down. Now the child may feel, that it's only to me that they tell me sit down. And what they are actually reacting angrily to is to the feeling that they are being picked on, not to the fact that they are being asked to sit down. So it's about trying to recognize when children flare up or when children have a problem in handling feelings and handling situations, trying to recognize the feelings that they had about it and trying to help them to recognize the feelings that they had about it. That's quite difficult. It's quite a major undertaking. It's not that easy, but you can always try. Because don't take it as read. They always pick on me. I mean, it may be that the teacher or the other friend or whatever, or the other child always are picking on them, but they may be just it's the way that they feel about it. It may be, okay, what makes you feel, what makes you say that? Oh, well, I mean, I get up and the teacher tells me to sit down. Okay, it's always picking on me. Well, I mean, how many times do you get up in the class? But it's a feeling of always being picked on that hurts, and therefore children react to this feeling by being angry. Children with ADHD and other children are very bad at recognizing feelings. So they upset, sadness, worry, everything gets mixed into anger. The only thing that they feel is anger. And they react angrily to any situation that is worrying, is maybe upsetting. So what you need to do is to help children to label these emotions by labeling yourself. And a lot of people don't talk a lot about emotions a lot, but start to get used in your household, in your house, to talk about, oh, I was so upset, I went to the supermarket and I couldn't find whatever it is, and I really was looking forward to that. I was a little bit upset, or I was very much upset. So start to drop into conversations, feelings, because children learn this way. Or I was a bit sad because I heard that a cat or something died, or I lost something that I really liked and I was very upset. Or I am a bit worried because tomorrow I am going to have to talk to my colleague at work about something that he did that I didn't like. So start to talk about that sense and start to help children to talk about different emotions so they can label it. I sometimes recommend to parents to have up to 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end of the day to talk about how your day has been. And in the talking about how your day has been, it's not only what you have done. I went to school, I got up, I go to school, and I went to play. It's about also how you felt about things. So I went to the playground and I played with so-and-so. Oh, was that good? Yes. And how did you feel about it? We are going to talk a little bit about feelings. How did you feel about it? Oh, I felt happy. Okay. Or so-and-so didn't want to play for me. And how did you feel about it? I felt angry. Okay, that's true. Did you feel upset as well? Because you are trying to label different emotions. And the grades of emotions, because as we were talking before, children with ADHD goes from 0 to 100 in no time. And what they need to get used to is to recognize that they are getting upset. And before they get 100, leave the situation. So you need to help them to recognize that they are getting a little bit upset. So sometimes, I don't know what I have it here, no? We have a thermometer, and from 0 here to 10 here, how upset were you? How worried were you? I have an exam tomorrow, a test tomorrow. Okay, are you worried about it? No. Okay. Well, you know what? I am a bit worried about it. Because, so in my scale from 0 to 10, mommy scale, I am just a little bit worried about your exam. Because maybe sometimes I think that, I get worried when you have exams. But maybe you are not worried, that's very good. But think about that. So, do you have something else to do? Are you happy? A little bit happy? Very happy. Did this make the teacher shouted at you? Did this make you feel upset, sad, angry? Could make you feel all of these things. And which one? Because it does then give people emotional vocabulary.
We've got a mood diary, and it's got stickers of emojis, so every day he'll...
Yes.
So it's visual.
Visual things help a lot. I mean, and sometimes you can ask children to keep a mood diary, but if you are the parent, I mean, it's all right if I sit in a clinic and I say, actually, that's what we are going to do for next week. But I mean, if you are the parent, it may be a little more difficult. But if you drop feelings into the conversation, help them to grade, ask them how they feel about things, they are learning constantly. Okay, so when they have had a problem, and they have had an argument, and they have got angry, try not to get upset. Talk to them when you are calm. And then let's just think what happened. Okay, so wanted to play, and then we started playing, and then he wanted to take that, and he took that, and I didn't want to, and then we argued. You get something like that. Okay, let's just think a little bit more. I mean, what is it that he wanted to take and you didn't take? And then it goes, he started it. Okay? Yeah. Okay. He may have started it, but let's just see how you reacted to it, because obviously he may have started it, but then it continued and it continued and it continued. And let's just see how we could have done it better. Okay. So what did you do? Okay, so he took something, he took the ball, as I say. Okay. And then what did you ask? Did you say to bring it back? Yes. And how did you ask? I shouted at him, break it back! Okay. Alright, well, okay. Did it work? No, he ran more. Okay, what else could you have done in that situation? Okay. And how were you feeling? Were you feeling a little bit angry or very angry then? Very angry. Okay, fine. Why were you feeling very angry? Because it is unfair. Okay, well, yes, unfair things happen in life. So yes, it is true. You were angry. He shouldn't have taken the ball, but then you ended up fighting. And so how can we? When you notice that you are starting to get a little bit angry, or very angry, then what other things can you do before getting into a fight, or so you don't get into a fight? Well, you could have told someone else. You could have told the teacher, you could have told the playground assistant, something like that, that it could have been a different. Other option, well, you could have gone and play someone else. You could have not shouted. You could have said, can you bring the ball back? See what happens next time. Maybe they will bring it back. You shouldn't shout, maybe not. I don't know. But you can try different strategies. So try to role play with the child different strategies. And try to be him and he's the other boy. Because sometimes if they become the other boy, they see things more clearly.
I think it's better to get them to play in a different situation as well. I used to invite my son's children home.
Yeah.
Because if they're playing in a different situation, it's different.
Yes. But I mean, you need to revise the situation that things have happened. So, because at the school it's going to happen again. Things happen all the time at the school. Okay. Now, be aware of the circumstances when people get more likely to fed up and get angry. Usually children are tired, children are hungry, so it is actually quite important that children get good sleep. And with this, it is important to turn off Facebooks, iPads, and after a certain hour, iPads and Facebooks are kept somewhere else and people do not have access to it. Because the amount of children that I hear in the clinic that in the middle of the night, or because they cannot sleep, or because they are bored, at 11 o'clock in the night, when the parents are not there, they get up, get the iPad, which they all seem to have, I mean it's wonderful, and start to play with the iPad, and obviously they don't go to sleep until 2 o'clock in the morning. The parents have not a clue about it. You don't know what they are doing, which websites are they going. Some of them are pretty exciting. And then the next day, surprise, surprise, they are tired. But and it doesn't have to be 2 o'clock in the morning, but it could be 11 o'clock at night, you see. So I think Facebooks, iPads, things that connect to various things, screen things, need to be turned off at a certain time, and that's where we stay, and that's what happens. Otherwise, you are going to have problems. Now, you can get children to draw or write in their own words things that they can do when they feel a bit angry, before they get to the point where they're hungry, and get it to write themselves. And sometimes they can have something that reminds them, a sign that says stop, something that they can carry in their pocket with themselves that reminds them that actually when they start to feel that tummy feeling, they start to feel hot, they actually need to run somewhere else, or they need to go somewhere else. They need to make an excuse and disappear from wherever they are before they shout and scream. Okay. Now talk about situations when you are calm yourself, not when you are angry, and when you are feeling upset. Okay. Okay, so we are, because I'm a doctor, I sometimes prescribe things, and people tell me whether medication helps with social skills. Medication may help with impulse control. So if a child has problems in social relationships because they are impulsive, because they say the first thing that comes into their mind, medication may help because it reduces impulsivity. Sometimes it helps a bit with emotional regulation. Some children that have up and downs may help a little bit with medication. Sometimes Ritalin or methylphenidate or Equasim or whatever you want to call it have ups and downs. And when the medication is coming down, children may feel much more irritable. So you need to be aware sometimes whether there is a relationship between difficulties with temper outbursts and coming down of medication or coming out of medication. And sometimes the dose of medication affects the way that children behave. And you may not realize, but sometimes it's a little bit too high at the beginning or something, and the children may get more irritable or something like that. So it is medication needs to be tailored quite individually, and not all the children react the same. So what is useful for a child may be completely useless for another one. And if you realize that 4 o'clock is usually the time that things go completely it's probably because the Concerta or the Equasim XL is coming down, and the child may then release a lot of things that have been controlled during the day. And either you think, okay, 4 to 6 is a difficult time, so what we are going to do from 4 to 6 is that he goes to the garden and he helps my gardening by digging a lot of holes and planting plants. So you get a structure from 4 to 6 that you know that the child is to do something that is physical, that is active. And they are not going to get into a lot of trouble. The siblings are not going to be there. So, So you can do that. You could ask the doctor whether there is something that they can do so that the calm down of the medication gets a little bit smooth. So maybe sometimes a little bit of medication is added so the calm down is a little bit smoother. So there are things that can be done, or there is other medications that may sort of help the calm down a little bit. So there are sometimes moments that the medication is helpful, but also it can be more problematic. Some children may have more anxiety on methylphenidate or atomoxetine, so therefore, you will need to be aware of all these possible side effects. So you can then tell the doctor, actually, wonderful, it seems to be okay, but actually then he has panic attacks or gets more socially isolated or gets very careful. So that affects social relationships as well. Okay. The other thing is some children get used to be the live entertainer of the class. And once they got into this role, the other children in the class are very good at keeping them into this role, because live entertainment is much better than mathematics. And to get out of this role, you really need the cooperation of the school, and the cooperation of the child, but the cooperation of the school as well. And sometimes you need to talk to the child, okay, if you start to behave well, what's going to happen? Are you going to have any friends? Because the conception about having friends is because people like them because they do all these interesting things that no one else likes. And if they stop doing interesting things, like climbing on the roof, then they are not going to have friends. Now, then you need to think with them, what are friends? Are there these people that like you climbing in the roof? Are these friends? Do you think they will be upset if you break your arm? Breaking your neck, but So, are these real friends? Because there is such a thing as real friends, and people that seem friendly, but they are not real friends. And real friends are very, very good and very important, but there are very few of them, and you never need to keep to them, and then keep with them. And then there are all these people that that is okay, but you can take it or leave it, and maybe you don't need to entertain the mass population.
I think it's a really good point, because actually when I work with kids, and particularly young people, and when you say to them, actually, what is a friend? What does a friend look like? How would you say somebody is friendly to you? And they write it down. They suddenly realise that actually some of the people who are there really aren't that person, or at least they recognise the traits in them. So it's a really, really useful exercise for parents to do. This is what I think a friend is because they do this. What do you think a friend is? And what sort of friend are you to people as well? So it's good.
Now you can discuss it. You have various children in the house. You can discuss it with all the children in the house. Have a discussion about what friendships are and who is good friend. Because maybe the one that they think is their friend is not a very good idea. It is actually quite easy to see it in the children, but to see it in yourself sometimes is actually more difficult. So there are families and families, and actually you may say to the parents, you think you may have some of these traits. Obviously you tell them ADHD is very genetic, it runs in families. So who do you think in your family may have the same traits? And quite a lot of parents say, I think I have this. I had it when I was a child. How now? But then the difficulty is that there are not many services set up for adults with ADHD, and for the diagnosis and for the treatment. So once the parents have come to their own conclusion that they have ADHD themselves, what do they do with it? There are some services set up. I don't know how it's in Richmond.
Well, we have an ADHD service here in Richmond, and actually if you go to the CAMS adult service, you'll see on their notice board they have quite a lot of workshops and things that you can attend at Richmond Royal. So there definitely are services. Whether social skills is one of them, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I can certainly find that out and bring it back to the next meeting. It's no problem at all. But there are definitely services at Richmond Royal, and there's definitely an ADHD clinic where you can get a diagnosis.
And there's one at Kingston. Yeah. There's one in Epsom, but then that's just for, sorry.
Yeah. So it could, I mean, as with all the services, it could be a lot better. But we have the basics, which I know some boroughs don't.
Some boroughs don't have that.
That in the long run, the child is going to have to live in an environment that is not going to be very accommodating. Maybe, but I mean, may not. So yes, I mean, it's good that the teacher can accommodate and can foresee, but there are things that people cannot do. They cannot hit people. Yeah, they cannot physically fight. I mean, after a certain age, it's just not. So there are things that, okay, you can tell the other children, well, your daughter or son have this problem, and so they will be able. And some children may do that. Wait until you get to secondary school.
I suppose I do that with serious things like that, but on on some of the others, that's the way she is.
Some of the yes, you have to accept what the child is, but there are some things that you have to tackle now, and it's better to tackle when the children. Children. It's better to tackle when the children are small than when they're older. They can learn, like everybody can learn, but it takes them longer, and you need to be more structured. So it's much more difficult. And obviously, it all depends on the degrees. I mean, there are people that have just a little tiny bit of ADHD, and actually, being just having a little bit ADHD is a little bit helpful, to be quite honest, for certain things.
It's very easy to, regarding siblings and things, my 20-year-old daughter would kind of argue with him about things like, well, he can't help his reaction. Why argue with him? He's 13, she's 20, she just doesn't get it. And it seems like I'm probably mollycoddling him, protecting him, and he can't help it, kind of thing.
But this is a problem, isn't it? Because a 20-year-old is going to think, what have I done wrong? I mean, why is he getting away? So it's actually quite a problem. So, I mean, it is, what are you going...
why he's reacting really odd, almost like he's being selfish, but he's not, he can't help it, he doesn't get it. But she's not understanding at all, none of the children.
You may want to ask her to go to a psychoeducation group or something. But she's 20 and she's the sister, and she's fed up basically, usually, because this one is got a lot of attention and she hasn't. So it is a question, a very difficult question of everyone's needing attention from mum. And poor mum being up to here.
Tips for sulking. My son is not aggressive or angry particularly, but he really sulks a lot. If something goes wrong in the morning, that could last all day.
Okay. I could ask, I can see that you're upset. Would you like to talk about it? Because or would you prefer not to talk about it now and talk about it later? Because sometimes people don't want to talk about it when they are in the sulking mood, and they just want to go to the room. And I think that is okay, because if you are pressing at that time, then people are going to blow up.
And we do that, but it's a long wait.
Oh, it's a long wait, but does he get there? Does he eventually say what he was worried about or sulking about?
He does, but...
Oh, congratulations, both on.
No, he does. I think he is able to say what is going on, but it's just the dealing with it as it's going on that's just so annoying.
Okay, but if you know that eventually he's going to come to it, and you say, actually, would you like to talk about it or would you like to talk about it later? And you know that it's going to be later, even if later is 6 hours later, then you can sort of say, okay, fine, I continue with my life until he's prepared to, not just recognize that he's upset, and some people have the tendency of wanting to forget about it once it has happened. Now, that can be okay, but if it's a continuous strategy,
then what happens is that people don't learn from anything and they cannot sort it out. So you just can't, you say, well, I mean, you know, you want to forget about it, it's okay, but then if we have similar situations, if we could talk about it now, then we may be able to do it differently next time.
Yes, yeah.